might be the ones worth looking at, because the beneficiaries are frequently people whose income has to be below some multiple of the minimum of the poverty level in order to be eligible. So I think indirectly, studies from different fields could be tied together to do that. So I think your hypothesis is definitely correct. So even if it hasn't been done in the course of minimum wage research, it's probably been done in the context of human service program adequacy research. So
I raised that, and I appreciate you looking at it from that angle. I raised that because when we very often here do piecemeal fixes. So while we're fixing the minimum wage, we still are not necessarily fixing other aspects of poverty that really ensure that families are able to sustain outside and above the poverty level. So it would be helpful to begin to put the different areas that are related to poverty together so that we can begin to define poverty in a more holistic way, at least here, hopefully, someday. So I thank you.
Yes.
If you would look at that.
Definitely.
Thank you.
One last question, if you may. Just for our benefit, could you tell us the sort of quantitative benefits of doing the regional indexing to include New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania versus, you know, the local piece? Do you have any?
Do you mean getting the 3 states to?
Yeah, the four states.
Four states to work together.
Yeah.
You're not talking about sub-state regionalism.
No.
Right, which the preemption question would get at. I think NELP has been at the heart of this. So I think it's, as somebody observing it, I think it's a tremendous idea to try to get the states to do that. But I don't think it's necessary because the minimum wage jobs aren't the kind of jobs that move from state to state. Minimum wage jobs are overwhelmingly service jobs, and those jobs occur in food service and retail where there's demand for them. So you don't see you're not going to have more restaurants in New Jersey than in New York because New Jersey has a smaller minimum wage. So I think it's good to have a regional approach, but I don't think that it should in any way be seen as a condition for increasing the minimum wage, because
I'm talking about the indexing.
These aren't, this isn't the kind of debate we usually have about, say, with taxes, is whether or not it will make businesses move to a lower tax, whether increasing corporate income taxes will encourage businesses to move to a lower tax state. I think the types of businesses that employ low-wage workers are place specific.
Okay.
Well, then, if there are,
Since I don't know if NELP has any position on this, but I know that you've been helping with increasing the minimum wage in various states, which I think is important, but I don't think it's something that's a precondition.
Yeah, and I think on the yeah, I mean it would be great if all the states worked together to raise minimum wage to a very robust level. On the indexing though, I think the so there are 10 states that currently index their minimum wages. They tie it to some measure of the CPI. Some use the national CPI and some use regional CPI for their localities. And I think, I don't know if anybody's ever done a comparison of how over time, which one went up faster. I think it's probably not that huge of a difference. I bet in a place like New York, it's, I don't know enough to say which would be preferable, but I don't think choosing one or the other would be a disaster, I guess is what I'm saying. But that's something that if you wanted, we could look at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
thank you very much. If there are no further questions, thank you. The last panelists that we have are Mark Dunlea from the Hunger Action Network, Pete Myers from Tompkins County Worker Center, and okay. Who's the person who? Okay. Is Ms. Cordoba here?
Dunley?
No, Lena Cordoba, she here? No? Okay. And then Adam Obernow. Adam? Mark
Okay.
and Pete. Okay.
My name is Mark Dunley, and I'm Executive Director of the Hunger Action Network of New York State. We certainly want to thank the Senate Democrats for convening this hearing. As you've heard a lot of testimony, so I'm not going to go through all the points a lot of my colleagues have already made. We certainly appreciate the fact that the Senate Democrats are looking for a higher minimum wage than what the Assembly is proposing. $9.25 at least brings it to a poverty level wage. We, however, still support a living wage rather than a poverty level wage. And I do note that in a recent national poll, 67% of Americans said they support a minimum wage at least $10 an hour. And so we do hope we get a little bit closer to that direction. We represent the 3,000 food pantries and soup kitchens in New York State. We serve about 3 million people on an annual basis. That number has increased about 60% in the last 4 years, and about 40% of the people who come to the food pantries and soup kitchens are the working poor. There's somebody in the household who's working, but they're not making enough to make ends meet, and that's why raising the minimum wage is so critical. Senator Krueger had asked a question, particularly about the administrative process. One thing that perhaps you can do is take a look at Section 654 of the state labor law, which does provide an administrative procedure to raise the minimum wage. Unfortunately, while much of the law in that particular section is quite detailed and quite specific as to a short time frame, there's enough loopholes that have been exploited to make it sort of irrelevant. The first time we submitted it was under Governor Cuomo. For some reason, on December 30th, the day before they left office, Commissioner Udax did rule in favor of the petition that the minimum wage was inadequate to maintain a family. But then for some reason, Commissioner John Sweeney, who came in under Governor Pataki, decided that he had to do his own independent investigation. We actually sued Commissioner Sweeney on this issue. The judge ruled that, yeah, we kind of support you, but yeah, you got to give him time to do his own independent study, not bound by the previous administration. And for some reason, that study never was done. More recently, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when under Governor Patterson, we also began the administrative process by submitting a petition. We have then followed it up with the new administration, Governor Cuomo. Apparently, you may be better familiar with this than I am, but sort of the commissioner indicated that those type of decisions really aren't made at the Labor Department. They are made someplace over on the second floor of the Capitol, and that whoever that person was on the second floor of the Capitol who was supposed to make the decision whether or not to raise the minimum wage was not yet ready to make that decision, and so therefore our petition is still current, but nothing has taken place with